Yo, 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 what is going on, my beautiful brothers and sisters, fellow radiators of love? My name is Jamal Pope, aka J Phoenix, and this is going to be your astrology forecast for this weekend, July 29th and the 30th of 2023. Appreciate y'all joining me in this video. As you can see, I'm not in my usual setup. I'm not going to be posting the charts here in the video. I'm just going to be talking about the astrology. I'm dog sitting this, well, for the next week, I'll be dog sitting. So I will go back home occasionally because I don't live too far from here. Plus, I got to check up on my own kitty as well, right? So can't just leave Leo at home by himself for a full week. So some of the videos will be the normal setup. Some videos will probably be more like this. So if I make them like this, probably be a little bit more laid back and casual. And I'm still gonna go in depth, but it's not. I'm not gonna just have the chart there to kind of like walk you guys through everything. But we have an interesting weekend ahead of us. We are building up to that full moon in Aquarius. Right now the moon is in Sagittarius. It's at the end of Sagittarius, and I'm kind of glad that. Obviously, I'm getting to this one a little bit late. Normally, I would have had this posted earlier, but you know what? It is what it is. At the current moment, the moon is at 23 degrees of Sagittarius, right? So, it did already make the quincunx over to Uranus earlier in the day, but the main aspect as far as today goes is the fact that it will make a square over to Neptune while also trining Venus at 27 degrees. What's nice about this energy is that you have to think, Venus was at 28 degrees for 11 days. For almost 2 weeks, Venus was stuck at 28 degrees. Venus likes to move a lot faster than that, right? So it's sort of frustrating for her that she's moving as slow as she is, and Mars is just gaining all this ground on her, and she's having to retrograde in Leo and then come back forward. She likes to move a lot faster than that. So for her to be stuck at 1 degree for such a long time, for her to finally kind of come off that degree is a pretty big deal. It's almost sort of like a sigh of relief, even though she still has to go through the retrograde. Now is an element where it's like, even though we feel like we are recalibrating when it comes to the Venus and Leo energy, when it comes to, do we value what's really in our heart? Do we value the creativity and the passion and the boldness that we bring forward into this light? Or do we value the shine that we bring into this light? Now, we're still going through that reevaluation period, but at least we're not really feeling stuck. At least we're feeling like there's a potential solution around the corner. At least we can start to feel like we can start to sort these things out, especially with Mercury having finally gone into Virgo. Now, this moon is, like I said, it's going to trine it at 27 degrees. This is also happening while it is squaring over to Neptune, and which means that Venus is quincunxing Neptune. And this definitely brings this element where it's like we are definitely wanting to look on the positive side of things, but we do have to kind of get realistic. There's an element here, especially with Neptune retrograde in Pisces, there's a sense of reality's kind of kicking in. But since this is still Pisces energy, right? It's not like Venus is in Virgo during this. There's still a dreamy-like aspect to it. But I think what's happening here is that we're sort of being tempered by our situation. We're being tempered by life right now, where it's like, oh, absolutely, you want to draw that magical sword out of that rock and go slay the dragon? Yeah, you can do that, but you might have to train up a little bit first. You might have to ask yourself why you want to do this. Ask yourself, why you value that particular experience, You have to ask yourself, am I doing this because I really want to, or am I doing this because I'm being told that this is what I should do, or am I doing this for some sort of acceptance? Am I doing this? Do I actually really love this? So I'm actually really committed to this path. Am I committed to this vision, or am I following the vision of others? Am I following the vision of someone else, of some sort of other entity? Am I under the influence, potentially, of other entities? That's the other thing that we don't really think about when it comes to Pisces energy. We don't think about how we could be influenced by other entities, especially with the energy like this, with the moon squaring it and Venus quincunxing it. There's definitely this element where it's like all of us are really asking ourselves, all right, so what am I influenced by? You gotta think, because Neptune is also media. Pisces is media too. So it's like, what am I influenced by? How does this impact my vision? Is there a challenge when it comes to, the vision that I have, and then the dominant narratives that maybe are being put out right now, right? And then of course Venus, even though it's finally come off at that 28 degrees, is still dealing with this energy. It's still dealing with the quincunx to Pluto, even though it's starting to loosen finally. But the other thing that she has to worry about is that now she's heading to a square with Uranus, and a square with Jupiter. So it's like she knows what's coming in a sense, right? And I think the moon in Sagittarius is kind of key here because we can start to actually feel a little bit more into the future right now, where we can sort of anticipate the potential challenges that are going to be coming up, right? So I think this is going to be a time, especially here on Saturday, where we really just want to like take stock of our life right now, take stock of what has happened to the now, take stock of the things that we do know and the things that we don't necessarily know, not to necessarily brush them aside, be alert, be aware, but also don't allow our emotions to get too wrapped up and trying to have things look a certain way or to try and come up with the entire vision right now, to try and see the whole big picture right now. Because if we do that, we're going to experience a challenge. We're going to experience a roadblock because it's going to feel awkward because we still have Venus, like I said, conjuncting Pluto, because in a sense, we know that things are transforming forever, right? And then, of course, we're dealing with that Neptune energy as well. So there's that throws a bit. I heard the word psyop for some reason, just came to my head. It just popped in, it's like psyop. It's like, are we falling for psyops? Are we falling for our own psyops? It's not just something that, maybe powerful, maybe elite groups of people might put out to it's not just something that they put out to try and influence the public. We can create our own psyops. I'm just saying. So like, I think today is definitely going to be a day, Saturday, to just be alert and to be aware. Because like I said, the moon in Sagittarius is definitely wanting to bring some positivity. And the trine to Venus is actually it's a positive thing because it's saying that, like, you know what? Yeah, you may not be feeling super hot right now. You may not be feeling like you're all put together right now, but that doesn't mean that you can't go out and have fun. That doesn't mean that you can't still have a party within yourself just because maybe you aren't getting invited to the party. Maybe you didn't get invited to the club. Who cares? Have the party at home. Have the party with yourself. Find the party. Find the excitement in the small things too. That's going to be, kind of that Jupiter, Uranian energy coming into. It's like, especially with Uranus and Taurus, it's like finding the wacky out there adventures in like just like your local, like just like in your room, whatever like that. Like Toy Story, right? On the outside looking in, it's just like you look at the room and it's just a bunch of toys. Little do you know that there's entire legacies and adventures happening in that room. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's the kind of energy where it's like, and I do this and this is like, and it's just weird thoughts that I sometimes have. But sometimes I'll be looking around like a room and I'll like say, I spot like an item. Like, or I say like this mouse, right? There's like an entire colony of beings that live on this mouse, right? Now, to me, it just looks like a regular mouse. To you, it just looks like a regular mouse. But there's probably an entire civilization that lives on this thing. And what's weird about it, too, is that they may be so infinitesimally small that they may not even perceive me really doing this, because it's just, they might not feel this motion, But that's just the thing. Like, it's about finding like the adventure and finding the excitement in the everyday, the small things. We don't necessarily need something like, I think a lot of us too, I think a lot of us are kind of experiencing a bit of a burnout when it comes to insane, crazy news. Like aliens have been getting confirmed, like the existence of aliens has been getting confirmed over like the last year or so, which those of us in the spiritual community, or those of us that know, like they've been here, like we've known. It's like, this isn't really much of a disclosure, it may not be exactly the way that we initially thought, or anyone initially thought, but we know that they were here and stuff, right? So that's that thing. But it's like, so many people are so burned out by all these different disclosures and all these different like historical events. Like, we've been living through a historical event after historical event after historical event, and a part of you is just like, yo, how am I going to pay my rent? I gotta cut my grass today. I gotta sign my kids up. My kids are signing up for classes and school's about to start. Like, this everyday shit that we gotta worry about. And still in the auxiliary, we have all of these just monumental events are happening. I think a lot of people are getting burnout from experiencing all of these crazy things. I think it's great to be alert and aware of what's happening as far as like the big news in the world, but I think it's also important to focus on your personal world and that inner world as well, and to find the excitement in there, because it's honestly going to be fostering and protecting and safeguarding and just growing that inner world and that inner understanding. It's going to be that's what gets you through this whole thing, because this whole external world, this whole matrix is collapsing, it's changing, it's morphing, it's updating, right? So the way that you maintain your sense of sovereignty through this is by focusing on that inner world, and it's by focusing on your energy, right? Now, the moon will go into Capricorn going into Sunday, and as soon as it does that, it will make the trine over to Mercury. And later on in the day, we're going to experience a nice grand Earth trine with the moon in Capricorn, Mars in Virgo, and Jupiter in Taurus. And this is very much no needed energy. I think with all of the erratic energy that we've been experiencing over the last several months, but definitely this week was kind of an interesting one. I don't know if you guys noticed, it just felt like a lot of percolating energy, like underneath the surface. It felt like the kettle was like pretty much whistling all week, and we just kept trying to do things to like ignore the whistle. And then finally it popped when all of that energy met up in Leo, when it was Venus, Black Lilith, and Mercury all met up in Leo, all making the King Kunks over to Neptune, all making the King Kunks over to Pluto, and also at the same time trining the North Node in Aries, and at the same time sextiling the South Node in Libra. That was when we finally addressed the issue, right? We finally get a grand Earth trine that kind of helps things to settle, and we can actually like ground ourselves, even though the moon much rather, of course, be in Cancer, the moon, that's the thing about the moon being in Cancer too, is that it only got like a taste of going into Cancer without having to oppose Pluto. So it's like, it's almost sort of like the moon's going to be coming back around to Pluto, and it's going to be like, the moon's just going to be kind of looking at Pluto like, and Pluto's going to be like, what's wrong? And the moon's like, I still have to freaking deal with your ass until you go back into Aquarius, but then you're going to go back into Capricorn and then finally into Aquarius by the end of 2024. And Pluto's going to be like, that sounds like a you problem, not a me problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's like, but at least we get some nice grounding energy before the moon does make that conjunction with Pluto. It's like building up to this full moon in Aquarius. I do feel like this is going to be a weekend that's going to help to put things in perspective. I think it's going to be a weekend where we start to gain some clarity into our situations and what's going on. I think it's also going to give us a bit of a sigh of relief because, like I said, Venus is finally coming. It's like it's coming off that 28 degrees. It is, while it's moving backwards, at least it's moving, and we can, and it kind of does. I think the danger with this is that you don't want to just give yourself like the illusion of advancement. You don't necessarily want to just be making moves for the sake of making moves. You definitely want it to have some type of purpose. You want it to have some type of strategy with it as well. You know what I mean? So there's definitely, I will say, like a potential to want to just kind of make changes just because your situation may not be exactly the way that you want it to be. And even though those changes will come in time, I don't think this is necessarily a time for a knee-jerk reaction. I would definitely say to definitely wait until that full moon in Aquarius. You know what I mean? If you feel like you just have to make a decision, and you feel like it, but if it's not like a life or death sort of thing, then I think this is like a weekend where we kind of get some perspective. We can wait it out a little bit longer, get to that full moon in Aquarius, and then we can readjust. Honestly, we probably should wait until that moon reaches the North Node. You know what I mean? It conjuncted the South Node already, and it hasn't conjuncted the North Node yet since it shifted into Aries. So I think that's really when we should really wait and just kind of see and recalibrate and figure out, okay. Because that's the thing. That's sort of like one of the last shoes to fall is the moon conjuncting those energies, and then of course also conjuncting those energies in Taurus as well before it finally makes that full revolution. So, but we've had to get to that point because if you try to make a decision now, and if you try to just make some sort of quick change now, when that moon goes over Chiron, it's going to re-trigger like an old wound potentially. It's going to bring that back up and maybe some sort of insecurity. And you don't necessarily want to be in that place. You know what I mean? You don't necessarily want to be in a place that might be new and exciting, or it just might be something to kind of switch it up so you can feel a little bit better. But then a situation will come up where you get this sort of remembrance, like a remembrance or like a memory may come up that does trigger that Chiron energy, that does trigger that wound, that does trigger that insecurity, and then you're going to be questioning your decision and double guessing, and then you might find yourself in an even deeper hole than you were before. When really you might be looking at that hole and realizing that it's not as deep as you thought it was, or if it was deep, at the very least, you know that you're being planted. So, and that's the thing about it. It's like when we're planted, you can't. There's a certain depth that you have to plant seeds in order for them to really grow. You can't just dig and dig and dig and dig and dig and dig and plant the seed and then water it and hope that it's actually going to grow. No, there's layers to this. Like you can't go too far deep. So that's the thing about it. I think sometimes we think that things are a lot deeper than they actually are. You know what I mean? Because we might feel like we're in that hole, if you will. So, but it's not always as deep, you know. So it's just enough at the right depth to where the water can reach us, and then we can start to sprout, and then you turn into the saplings, and then the plant continues to grow. So, there's a rhyme and reason to everything, my friends. So, we do have the Pentacle. So we have the Princess of Pentacles, so the Page of Pentacles. We have that in reverse. I also have the Two of Wands in reverse, as well as the Eight of Cups. As the Eight of Cups. Yeah, there's definitely this element here where we are definitely looking to, we are definitely looking to make some sort of decision, but there's definitely some indecision here with the Two of Wands being that it is reversed. We are stuck because we don't necessarily know which way to go. Or maybe we do know that we have to make a decision, but we don't necessarily know what exactly that decision is. We don't necessarily know the full details of it. There's definitely a sense that we're walking away from something with that Eight of Cups here. He's walking towards this giant mecha, right? He's walking towards a giant mecha. Now, this can be interpreted as several things. Maybe there's someone actually in that mecha, and he's walking to it because he's unafraid. Or that's his mecha, and he's about to jump into it. Maybe it's just sitting there prone. So there could be an element of this where it's like, you may feel like, and I'm honestly feeling like it's probably that second one, even though it's moving and there's dust and stuff like that. So, yeah, maybe someone's already piloting this thing, and he's walking towards it with no fear. He's leaving behind his fear. He's leaving behind the fear of moving towards something that may seem dangerous, right? Bottom of the deck, we do have the Lover's card. Wow, we have the Lover's card at the bottom of the deck with this. Yeah, I think this really comes down to, and this Lover's card coming up, I don't think this is necessarily, it could be relationship stuff, especially with Venus being in the sign of Leo with all this. So relationship stuff can come up. But what I'm really hearing here is that this is about a form of self-love. You have to, love yourself enough in this moment to know when it is time to, contemplate and to go over and sort of assess your life at this point, see where things are, see where your values lie, see where you might have to shift some things around so you don't necessarily make a knee-jerk reaction. I think the Two of Wands in reverse could be a potential knee-jerk reaction because we just want to feel good and we want to be accepted. We want to feel valued by other people. But this Eight of Cups is the ultimate message here where it's saying that, even though something may look dangerous or something may look, super scary, we have to be able to leave our fear behind and to move forward boldly, and then that's when we're going to find the love that we're looking for. I'll cut the deck. Yeah, we have the Three of Cups. This energy came up yesterday. So I think what's happening here, I know what this means kind of for me, but I think we are afraid to walk away from situations where even if we don't necessarily vibe fully with that environment again, there are connections that we have made in these places that have impacted us or impacted you. You know what I mean? So it's like you don't necessarily want the party to end. I think that's what it is. I think there's elements where it's like, yeah, I know I need to move on from this situation. I made the best out of the situation while I was here. And I don't necessarily want the party to end. The party doesn't have to end. It doesn't have to end. That maybe it just takes on a different form. Maybe you leave that place, maybe you leave that job, maybe you move on in a sense, but that doesn't mean that the party is just over either. I think it's just changing. Maybe they change the music, or just maybe it gets postponed. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you thought you were going to go to a party on Saturday, but it gets postponed to the following Saturday. And now you're trying to figure out, crap, what am I going to do with the rest of my weekend? Well, I think this is one of those moments where you just kind of go within, find the excitement within, find the excitement in just the simple everyday stuff, find the excitement and just, whatever, and don't behold yourself to having to look like a certain way because someone with authority or 1 million followers or 1 million subscribers or $1 billion in the bank said that it should look this way. Maybe for them and maybe for 1 million other people that might follow them, but it doesn't have to be the same way for you. You got to find your own path. You got to find your own thing that lights your soul up. I think if anything, what we're all looking for right now is that we are actually the other thing about the Three of Cups in reverse is that we are looking to see if there's a party or a life in someone. We are looking to see if there's like a spark in their eye. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people, and if you're probably watching this, you probably are wondering that. It's like, you're looking to see if there's something there, if there's a spark there, if there's inspiration there. Pay attention to that stuff because I think that's going to be very important going forward. It kind of feels like some people are soulless right now. And it can also feel rather lonely. That's the thing about the Eight of Cups too. It's very lonely. Because in many ways it represents a spiritual path. It represents, I guess, you embracing how you feel, but also not allowing yourself to be fully and like controlled by your emotions and stuff like that, and fully controlled by the memories, you know what I mean? To allow those memories to just keep you beholden and just stuck in a place, you have to be able to move on. You have to be able to go on the journey. This is a big initiation right now that we're all going through. So, that's what I have for you guys for this weekend forecast. I hope that you all enjoyed it. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. I definitely appreciate it. If you like a personal reading with me, beloved, you can follow the link in the description below to my website, jphoenix.com. As always, y'all take care, stay blessed. I'll see y'all on Monday's video. Peace out.